Guys started watching this video right now. I'm just letting you know this video is posted on Thursday because for Saturday I'm having a plan going on, but this will be the second episode of Scary Story Saturdays. So just want to let you know, I want to say thanks for you guys subscribing to my channel. I really can't believe that I hit 29 subscribers already. I thought I was not going to get any subscribers, and since you guys saw my trouble dance video, most of you guys were kind of like okay, some of you guys were kind of disgusted by it, and some of you guys were like enjoying it because I got a lot of views on that video. So if you want me to continue doing dance videos, then basically comment. But I want to say thank you, and the more support you give, the more videos and content you'll receive. enjoy today's Enjoy this Saturday Scary Story Saturday episode while it lasts. So let's begin. Yeah, so this story is called My Ghost Encounter at Piniji Mountain, which says on the... Okay, so this story happened in 7th grade when I was only 13 years old. I was going on a trip with my teacher, Mr. Selensky, and two of my classmates, Lisa and Abigail. The reason why I call these names differently was because of protection's sakes, so if I accidentally say their real names, and if you guys were watching this video, I'm sorry for mentioning your real name. But anyway, let's continue. The month was around December, but I don't remember what exact day we left, that we left and stayed there or returned, because it was so long ago. We were going to Piniji Mountain for the Student Voice Council. Student Voice was an event where teachers and students from different schools would gather together to discuss new fun ways to make schools safer and fun to learn. This was pretty exciting because this was the first trip of my 7th grade year. So anyway, we arrived and started to book into our motel rooms before the meeting started. A few minutes later, the first meeting was starting, and I was on my way to the main building along with my group. And when we got there, through the doors into the cafeteria and sat at our tables that was registered for us, the hosts were introducing us to the program, since this was actually our first time being there, of course. And then they automatically began talking about the topic we should be discussing as we were doing this. So all of us were working together to solve the topic and everything. And then we were taking a 2-hour break because it was a long day and it was a long drive. So we decided to go explore the top of the mountain and see the landmarks that were left. There was a short story of how the mountain got its name. The mountain was named after a woman by the name of Penny Jean. She dressed up as a sailor so that she could go with the rest of the men that were going to the New World, which is America, for those who don't know. And after she has arrived in which is now the state of Arkansas, they had settled here for 2 days, and within those 2 days she died from yellow fever, and the Indians were thinking about placing her to be buried in a river, but the settlers there said that they would like to bury her in the mountain, and her grave is still there, and you get to see her tombstone. So her grave is still there today. No one does breaking it anyway. Then it was time for us to head back to continue our meeting. So we got in our little Humvee or car and we drove to the meeting, to the place where we were having the meeting. We continued the meeting until it was finally over. And then it was getting late. But before we went to bed, we sat around the campfire and started to meet new people from all kinds of schools in Arkansas. And had a party in Lisa's room. Now, just to let you guys know, for parents or adults or kids like me that are watching this, we had rules for... There was rules, of course, about gender mixing. So there were teachers there to monitor us, so we wouldn't be basically sneaking out some person's room and have a party on ourselves, because a lot of people nowadays do naughty things, and I encourage you guys not to do those naughty things because that will get you in trouble, and that can also get the person that you're with in trouble. So don't do it. Anyway, um, we were in Lisa's room to have a party. After that, it was time for us to go to bed. I went to my room and started to change into my night clothes, which I call night clothes, but you know what those are, pajamas or PJs, whatever you call them, but I usually call them my night clothes. Anyway, when then I turned on TV and I was watching one of the most funniest movies I have ever seen. It was called Adam Sandler's Eight Crazy Nights. Now, this movie is the first movie that Adam Sandler starred in before the whole Transylvania series. I'm also going to let young kids know that are watching these videos that Adam Sandler's Eight Crazy Nights is not good for you, especially if you're very immature. Like if you're like 6, 7, 8, 9, you're not watching it. But if you're like between from 16 to 19, you can watch it because it's a really good show. It's funny. You'll love it. Just be careful and be mindful of the content. Anyway, after that, the Vatican tapes was playing, and I was still up during the time until I heard a knock on the door, and I turned off the TV because, you know, that's how it is. And I said, "Who's there?" to address the situation. There was no response, and decided to get some sleep because I was pretty much tired. And then there was a knock on the door again, and this time I heard footsteps going to the left, to the right. I got up from my bed and grabbed my coat, and the TV was off at this point. So there was no sound coming from the TV because I turned off my TV. I grabbed my coat, and because it was freezing night, it was freezing cold that night, and it was outside, and when it's December at nighttime is freezing cold. So I grabbed my coat, went outside, said, "Okay, who's messing with me? Come on out, the game is over." But there was no response to that, and as soon as I turned around, the door slammed shut in front of my face, and I was locked out. I searched my pockets to see if I had my key card with me, but I realized that my key card was inside the room. I was freaking out and started to go over to Lisa's room to see if there was anyone heading towards my room, because they were next door to mine, and if they experienced someone knocking on their door. When I went there, Lisa and Abigail were, like I said, also, since Lisa and Abigail were women, they share a room because of same gender, so they're allowed to. But since I'm a guy, I couldn't, and that's the reason. So, anyway, because they could, and there was rules that guys share rooms. That, anyway, yeah. That was basically the summary of what happened. When I got there, I asked them if they heard or saw anyone walking by, and both of them said no. And then I asked them if one of them had knocked on my door because I was suspecting that they were the ones knocking on my door since they didn't see anyone come through to their door and knock on their door. But they said no, so I was shocked, and I told them that about what happened, and of course they're skeptical, so they didn't believe me. And they both decided to but they both told me to go get Mr. Zelensky so that he can get a spare key card to unlock my door. I told them that I don't know if he was awake or not, and I didn't want to disturb him because I don't like waking up people in the middle of the night who are sleeping. And they shut the door, and I was still outside in the cold thinking of getting Mr. Zelensky or not. And as soon as I was about to decide, I heard a loud thud as if something was knocked over or dropped, and it was in the same area where Lisa and Abigail were. So I went over there and I knocked on the door again. And Lisa opened the door and asked, "What is it now?" And I asked them both if they heard a thud or if they dropped anything. They said no. And I said, I apologized because I was bothering them, so I said I'm sorry. And I left to go get Mr. Mr. Zelensky. And as I went down there, and I was at the door where Mr. Zelensky's room was, because in the motel has this 2-story building. The top part was where we were, and the bottom part is where he was. So when I was down there to open, and as soon as I was about to open the door, I heard a blood-curdling scream out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, and I was scared crapless. I immediately opened the door and ran to Mr. Zelensky's room, and knocked on the door. As soon as he opened the door, he told me to come inside, and he let me sleep in his room while he gets the key card to open my door. After a few minutes, he came back, and as soon as I woke up, I told him what happened, and he believed me, and me and him walked up to the first floor to my room. He opened the door, and I finally went in and got some sleep. The next morning, we got together because we were about to leave, and it was our final day. But before we left, all of us decided to take a group picture before we leave, and we did so. And after that, we started to go back to the school and head home, since the drive from Bemidji Mountain to their middle school was long, and it would be by the end of school by the time we got there. So by the time school was over, we already went home, which was the best day of my life. And it was not far from the middle school, but it was a long drive by road. Anyway, so to those who are skeptics, most of you who are hearing this from me say that I maybe was hallucinating, maybe I was hallucinating from me being tired and all that, but let me tell you, I was wide awake when this happened, and same with Miracle and Lisa and Abigail, because they were up too. We were still up, but I was trying to get some sleep before, and that's when that stuff happened. Now, I wish I could have recorded, but I didn't have a phone then, and I'm sorry that I didn't have actual evidence or proof, but I heard everything, and I was not hallucinating. All the TVs downstairs were off. All the TVs in my room were off, and theirs were still on, so I don't know how to explain it. And also, since this happened to me, I've been more interested in the paranormal since. And those who like paranormal stuff, check out Sam and Colby and Overnight. They're the best 2 ghost hunting channels. Also, Mackie and Amanda, aka the Spooky Boos. They're a good duo. Amanda is a medium, and Mackie is her best friend, and they both get to do ghost hunting videos together. So I recommend you guys follow their channels. I will list it in the comments below. Alright guys, so the second story that we're about to finish off for this second episode is called The Rougarou, a Louisianan Folktale. This is a tale about a 7-foot creature that is well known all over Louisiana, the Rougarou. And in this story that you're about to hear is about an encounter with a monster. It was early in the morning, and a young man by the name of Johnny went to go hunting for food. As he was looking for animal tracks, he saw a deer corpse with its head torn off. And as he got closer, he found bite marks and claw marks on the corpse. He kneeled down to get a closer look at it. He realized that there was no signs of an alligator or bear that killed this deer. As he was trying to guess what animal did this, he heard a twig snap behind him. So he grabbed his gun and said out loud, "Who's there? Show yourself." 2 seconds later, there was silence. And then he heard a howl and a very low growl. In fear, he ran back to his boat and paddled back to his house on the bayou. Meanwhile, Johnny's family was waiting for him to return with some food. They saw him in his boat paddling as fast as he could, and as soon as he got to the dock of his house, he tied his boat to the dock and ran into the house and put his gun on the wall and turned to his mother and father and said, "What was that creature?" And his parents were shocked about this question. So his dad asked him a question related to the question that he asked. How tall was this creature and what did it look like? And Johnny replied, "It was 7 foot, but the only thing that I saw about the creature's feature was that it had horns, and it howled like a monster. For a minute, Johnny's father and mother were discussing about what he saw. And an hour had passed. And Johnny's mother was cooking leftovers from last Monday. And as they sat down and ate their gumbo that she made, Johnny's father turned to him and said, "Do you remember the stories that I told you when you were a child?" And Johnny said yes, and what about it? His father and mother turned at each other. Then his mother, with a look of fear, turned to him and said, "Son, you have saw the monster that I used to tell you when you were born as a child, when you were bad as a child. The Rougarou." Johnny was shocked, and he turned to his father and mother and said, "What are we going to do? The beast can be here any minute looking for me, for its dinner." His father then said, "We must defend this house at all costs." After he said that, they heard a howl in the woods. His mother then shouted, "Quick, board up the windows and doors, and get those guns loaded." They boarded up every window and door so that the monster couldn't come through or break in through the holes of the house. A few hours had passed, and it was midnight. No sound of any bird or creature of some sort that lived in the woods near the bayou. Johnny heard scratching noises on the side of the house. He grabbed his gun and made sure it was ready to fire. Then out of nowhere, the Rougarou managed to break through one of the boards of the windows. Sorry guys, my ear's itchy. Windows. And hold on. Windows. And was trying to reach anyone that was in its way, since he couldn't see through the boards. Johnny grabbed his gun and shot at it. Shot at the monster's arm, leaving the creature in agony as he howled and growled with anger. Then his father, nearby, grabbed his gun and shot the creature in its other arm. And as soon as the creature was injured in both arms with the guns that have been fired upon, it retreated back to the woods, and the creature retreated back to the woods. But before the creature continued to go back, it howled and growled one last time before he left them in the night. And by the next morning, no signs of the Rougarou, no signs of howling or growling were anywhere along the bayou, which meant Johnny and his family had fended off the monstrous creature of the Rougarou. Now guys, just a little fact about the Rougarou. The Rougarou in most stories is depicted as either a horned demon or a wolf man, but mostly a wolf man, because later the word Rougarou means man, swamp, wolf, swamp man, wolf, and it's a story that most parents told a long time ago to young kids who have been disobedient in their lives or growing up doing bad. And this was what lesson for young kids to learn not to do bad things, or else something was going to get them. And there's other stories like Krampus, and there's a Finnish witch story, and during Christmas, like Christmas stories, ghost stories would teach young kids not to be bad, and those are called morals. So that's a little fact about storytelling in that type of time period. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Also stay tuned, because I would be making another announcement after you do what I said about subscribing and commenting. I hope that this episode makes up for last Saturday's episode, because I know that you guys have been waiting for a part 2, and I haven't posted it. I had a rough draft of it, but I didn't post it because there was a complication and there was a problem. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I want you guys to wait until Sunday, because this Sunday I'm posting the 3rd episode of Scary Story Saturdays, since I won't be able to post it this Saturday. And I know that it's a little complicated, I'm sorry, but I hope you enjoyed today's video. I want to say thank you guys. Keep those subscribers coming. Keep liking my videos. I'll do more for this channel to get content. And the more you subscribe, I will be shouting out to all my new subscribers, so don't miss out on that. I want to thank you for your following and your entertainment. I want to say I'm glad entertaining you guys with this stuff. If you like scary stories, then maybe next year I will do Terror Tales, a new series for all Tuesdays, or Scary Stories Sundays, or Scary Video Sundays. If you want me to watch some scary stuff, I can, and we will. I just want to say thank you. Enjoy your day.